Welcome to Wally Bar's Whiteboard Wednesday, and today I'm talking about joining the tabletop, or the tabletop glue up. Now, there's a few things we need to know when we're gluing up a tabletop. Some things are quite important, some things not quite so, but the main thing is making sure that you allow for shrinkage and movement in your timber. Now, you get your timber from your sawmill, hopefully it'll be kiln dried or air dried down to a relatively low moisture content of around 8%. If you're talking about hardwoods, softwoods might be a little bit higher, but you're looking for around 8%. Now, needless to say, wood will grow and it will shrink in its environment to a degree. Not by a lot, but to a degree. But more so, what it will do is it will change its form. In the sense, it could change its shape, not necessarily its volume, but its shape. Now, certain timbers are cut from certain parts of the tree. The two most common would be quarter sawn and plain sawn. Now, when you've got plain sawn, it's generally cut all the way through the tree, and what you'll end up with is a certain amount of the boards will have this form where the grain enters from one side of the board but also leaves on the same side of the board. There could be slightly different variations of it. If you see this example here, it stops and then it starts again because the board's been cut in its thickness. Well, this type of grain figure, this type of this grain pattern can cause stresses and strains in the timber. Now, where the grain is effectively is where there will be more resin. In between that, you'll have the softer heartwood, and this piece of timber in between the grain will shrink to a degree and expand to a degree, and that causes the stress and the strain. So what we have to do is we have to orientate our boards in a certain way. Now, that is more important with this grain pattern than it is with this one. And this one's quarter sawn. Now, quarter sawn or rift sawn, the boards are perpendicular. They're cut perpendicular to each other. The areas where the grain is more perpendicular with the face of the board, for instance, if this was a quarter sawn board, the best quarter sawn board you could get your hands on, the grain is going to be virtually like that, 90 degrees to each face, and they'll be coming from this area of the tree. But when you get nearer to closer to the edge, it'll become more angular like these, and they'll be going from quarter sawn to rift sawn. So the further you get out here, it becomes rift sawn. So this is more rift sawn than quarter sawn. The quarter sawn would have the grain, a slight curve to it, but unlike that, it's a very bad representation. That looks terrible. But anyway, that effectively you get the point. It's got to be perpendicular. Now, the beauty about when it's like this, when you've got quarter sawn or rift sawn timber, the shrinkage and the expansion in the board, when you're moving the board, generally is in its width of the timber itself. So it might move that way a little bit, or maybe slightly angular, but it won't be quite so stressful as this. A board like this one is going to try and curl that way, and this one's going to try and curl in the opposite direction. That is what it's going to try and do. So what we have to do, we have to orientate our boards. Now, the simple thing to remember is one goes one way, and the board next to it must go the opposite direction, and the next one the opposite direction. So you have this wave going on the glue up. Now, that's great to a degree, but there's still going to be a certain amount of movement. I would not recommend that you do glue ups with plain sawn boards where the boards are quite wide. If you've got anything over 5 inches, 125mm of board, you're going to find that you're going to be quite subjected to quite a bit of cupping or curling in the board there. So what we tend to do is we would split that down into narrower boards. So effectively we would that board would be half the width, you cut down the middle of it, and then that one would be reversed round. So instead of it going all the way around like so, effectively what we'd have is this board would be going in the opposite direction. And we'd split that down on each and every single one. It'd become more stable. In some cases it might be more stable than a wider rift or quarter sawn board glue up. Now, whenever you glue boards up like this, there are other things to consider. Some things are quite obvious, like glue area. If you're gluing up a narrow tabletop, a thin tabletop, not narrow, if you're gluing up a thin tabletop, bear in mind your glue area is limited, it's quite small. It'd be a good idea to increase your glue area. Now to do that, you can either do a tongue and groove on the edge of your board. So effectively, one edge of the board will have a tongue like so, and the other board has the groove. So that board then slots into that board. What that does is you're increasing, almost doubling your glue area. It makes it more stable. But also you're creating a joint, not just a butt joint, but you're creating a physical joint. Now, when you have a joint like this, these two boards can't move away from each other, can they? Those two boards will remain flush with each other because the joint will dictate that. Well, welcome to my woodworking channel, Wally Bra, the place you will learn tips and tricks and projects from me, woodworking since 1989, and you know what to do? Hammer that subscribe button. Let's get back to the video. Other ways you can do that, you can have a slip joint like this one. Effectively you have a groove in each piece of timber, and then you'll have a slip of hardwood or a piece of plywood even. That would then hold these two boards in line with each other and have the same effect as this one, and that also increases your glue area. It helps stability in the joint. There are other ways we can glue the boards together. We can use a tool that's very common these days. If I can get it out of its box, it is a biscuit joiner. Now, I'm not that keen on this method. Now, the reason for that is wherever there's a biscuit, there's a space next to it, there's a gap until the next biscuit. And although this is a very quick way of doing it, especially for people who are working on site or whatever, and they're trying to joint up tabletops or worktops, well then this particular tool can be a very useful thing to have in their arsenal. And what they put in is this little biscuit like this, which is made out of pressed beech, and you get them in different sizes. This is a number 10. And all you have to do is you alter the size or depth of cut of this in reference to this. You put this with number 10, your number 10 biscuit. Be careful how you store these things. Make sure they're in an airtight container because they take on moisture and they grow. So you might be creating your slot with your biscuit joiner, and then your biscuit won't slide into the slot because they've grown a little bit, especially if you don't use it very often and your biscuits are laying about. That's the biscuit joiner. Very useful tool. I don't use it much these days, if I'm absolutely honest. I much prefer this method because it's quite easy to cut with a router and align the two boards together. You could also make sure that if you want, you can have a little bit of play or movement in it, which is fine because that'll be taken up by your glue. It just allows assembly to be much easier. Whereas the tongue and groove method like this, generally speaking, the toolkits that you use for your router or your table, toolkits that you would use for your router table generally are very precise and they give no freedom in them whatsoever. They're quite hard sometimes to slide those two boards together. Another tool we can use is the Domino. Now this is a relatively newish, well I say new, it's been around for years now, but the downside about this particular machine is that Festool have still got the patent on its concept and principle. Brilliant bit of kit. I use this so much. I don't generally use it on tabletops anymore, but I have to admit the good thing about this, if you are gluing up a top, you can have your dominoes set quite deep with one of these, up to 70mm each on each face. It's 140mm long dominoes, and your dominoes are, I don't buy dominoes, I just make my own, and this is what we call a domino. It is an oval piece of wood that is like a dowel, but in oval shape, so you don't get no twists on it. Plus you can make them in various sizes. The machine is very good for multiple cuts and allowing you to slide them into each hole. Really good for alignment. Brilliant. Great bit of kit. Downside about me is they're over $1,000, €1,000. But I don't regret buying it at all. You know, if this broke today, I'd go out and buy a new one tomorrow because I use it so much. Great machine. Now, where I was saying they're quite good because you can use quite long domino dowels with them. The beauty about it is you can pretty much slide all your dowels into all your boards. So for your glue up, you can actually pick up your tabletop from one edge with all these in and move it. Now, why do you want to do that? Where it's quite good is you do that when you're clamping up your tabletop. When you're using this method or the biscuit, what can happen is as the boards go together, under the pressure of the clamps, because the clamps might curl a little bit, they do that, or that. So either you'll get a big hump in the middle on your glue up, or it'll try me going the opposite direction. You've got to reverse your clamps, some on the top, some on the bottom, to keep the thing flat. The beauty about these is they help hold it flat because you've got a lot more surface area and length. Whereas the biscuits, as you can see with this particular one, there's barely 10mm going into each face. So not a preferred method for me. This still isn't a preferred method, but it's still really quite good. Now I do have a reason why I don't like this kind of idea of putting the dominoes or the biscuits, you spacing them out, is that there's areas where there's no where there's less glue area, but equally there's areas where the boards can do this or that in between. When you're using this method, once that glue's gone off, 9 times out of 10 these boards will remain totally flush with each other. Definitely a better idea as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's another thing to watch out for when you're doing your glue up. What a lot of people do, they get their lovely little joint and plane, such as this. I'll miss it. Such as a Stanley Bailey like this one, and they'll joint the edges of the boards. Perfectly true, look fantastic. You put your boards together, absolutely perfect, fantastic. That's not actually what you want. It might be what you want, but it's not what you should be doing. What you should be doing is, for instance, say this is your 2 boards. You're going to glue these 2 boards together. There's 2 boards here. Yep, there's my grain and my board. Yeah, okay, a bit of realism there, like a coffee stain maybe. And what you want is actually slight relief in the middle of each board as they go together. Now, I've said it's shy. Literally what I mean by that is they are not touching in the middle. Just fractionally, in its length, as long as it's not physically touching in the middle. There's a 0.5 millimetre, if that, in the middle on a 6 foot or 1.8 metre tabletop. That's enough. But where you must be making contact is hair on the end and hair on the end. So on the face of that board here, as it projects at the end, that should be touching. But down the middle of the board, near the middle of the tabletop, there should be a gap. But what you don't want to happen is that your tabletop being put into your centrally heated home, air conditioned and whatever, and moving about, you do not want the ends of your tabletop where the boards are jointed to gap. So what you don't want to see, if I can find a space to draw this on it, I'll do it up here. Can you see my hand? There you go. Like. What you don't want to see is your tabletop, like so. You've got a board here, and then you've got another board here, and on the ends of your tabletop, you've got this happening, where you're getting little gaps in the end, because the boards are still trying to dry out on the end of the table, more so than it is in the middle, and you'll end up with that. Exaggerated here, just so you can see. So it's a good idea to do your glue up, touching at the ends, not in the middle. Well, you managed to get to the end of my video, so I assume I must have grabbed your attention, or you just couldn't be bothered to click off. So, hammer that like button, hammer that subscribe button, and comment below. Yeah, and click that little bell, because then you get a nice little buzzy hum in your pocket, and that'll be me uploading another video. So, thank you for watching, keep on woodworking, keep on learning.